Adam, thank you for that kind introduction. It was absolutely appropriate. It is so great to be with you today. Hello. Y'all having a good day? That's what we say when we're in Georgia. Y'all having a good day. We are so excited to be with you. On behalf of the Georgia delegation, everybody raise your hands. We are excited to be a pretty big group this year, but we're bringing even more next year. On behalf of our delegation, on behalf of our Governor, Nathan Deal, and our entire technical college system team back home in Georgia, at our system office, at our colleges, it's an honor to be with you today. Before I get started, I would like to share a message from our great Governor, Nathan Deal.
Hello, I'm Governor Nathan Deal. I would like to welcome you to the 2017 National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships National Conference. Although I cannot be in attendance today, I know Georgia is well represented by the members of our colleges and universities, including Commissioner Gretchen Corbin of the Technical College System of Georgia. Education is vitally important for the growth of our state. By 2020, it is estimated that 60% of the workforce will require some form of education beyond a high school diploma. In preparation, we're developing and implementing initiatives aimed to increase the percentage of Georgians who hold a post-secondary credential. Our investment in education is one of the many reasons why Georgia has been named the #1 state in the nation in which to do business for 4 consecutive years. Thank you all for continuing to work towards a more efficient education system on behalf of students, families, and communities across the nation. I hope you enjoy the conference.
Thank you to our governor, and thank you for viewing that. You know, the governor is very insistent on 2 things in Georgia, and that is he feels that for an individual, a Georgian, to be the best that they can be, they have to have a really good job. And for a person to have the best job that they can have, they have to have the best educational opportunities they have. So he really puts at the forefront economic development and education. And I think that's really what Adam wanted to make sure that Georgia shared today. Economic development, education. And when you think about economic development, Georgia being the #1 state in which to do business, that's a big deal for any state, isn't it? We don't take that lightly, and we work hard at making sure that we stay the #1 state in which to do business. But Governor Deal realizes that every time he sits down with the prospect, whether it's an existing industry that's growing or a new business that is looking to Georgia to do business, he knows that the first question of that CEO or that executive is about workforce. Tell me about your workforce, the educational component of your workforce at all levels. The university system, the technical college system, K through 12, your college and career academies. How is your pipeline growing? And so Governor Deal, in an effort to make sure that he was taking care of the students of Georgia and also meeting the need of those business leaders, said, I am going to focus on education. And that is the reason you will see investment within his technical college system, the universities that are represented here today, as well as our colleges, in dual enrollment, which we are all in this room so very excited about, and also apprenticeships. So, let me get to the speech. Very quickly, when Governor Deal took office, he knew that there were far too many students dropping out of high school. And he knew that a child who does not graduate from high school is less prepared for the workforce and much less college. We also knew that many of them faced a future behind bars if we didn't get to work in education and economic development. So what we needed in Georgia was an education revival. We needed to do all that we could to ensure all of Georgia's children had access to a high-quality education, regardless of race or income level, or their zip code. So in turn, we knew that this would benefit the students and also Georgia's economy. You know, economic experts tell all of us in this room that the quality of a workforce is the most important factor when corporations choose our location, whether it's in Georgia or whether it's in your state. Think about the companies doing business in your states. Every day they have the opportunity to choose if they continue there, if they grow there. And we know, whether in Georgia or in your state, that the number one requirement and the number one thought that they have on the forefront of their minds is workforce development. So in 2014 in Georgia, Governor Deal established an Education Reform Commission to study our education system. The group, comprised of legislators, educators, and a variety of stakeholders, offered recommendations that would, among other things, improve our ability to provide a quality education to all of our citizens. The panel made recommendations, and 2 bills were brought to the legislature due to this panel. Senate Bill 2, which gave high school students an alternate option for graduation, and Senate Bill 132 overhauled our dual enrollment program. Actually, this was House Bill 132. House Bill 132, the Move On When Ready Act, enabled qualified high school students to maximize their education and career training by taking college and high school courses at the time. Senate Bills 2 and 132 collectively expanded dual enrollment. You've probably done this in your state, and if you haven't, please do, to include not just 11th and 12th grade, but also 9th and 10th grade students for the first time in Georgia. So 9th through 12th grade students had the opportunity to participate in dual enrollment. We expanded course options, and we provided the tuition and the monies necessary to cover tuition and textbooks, as well as non-course related fees. So think about that. 9th through 12th graders, the governor and the state legislature said, and we are going to fund this, so we are up to around $130 million a year towards dual enrollment. And we know that obviously this credit is going towards their college and also their high school graduation. This has fundamentally changed Georgia as we prepare our secondary education students for the future. We know that this is increasing access and lowering the cost of dual enrollment, and we know that it has assisted us in preparing a skilled workforce. So, what we have found is that we have less dropouts, that we have more excited high school students, that we have high school students that aren't just going to college because their parents have told them that they should go or because they want to go, but really the students in the middle, not the ones that were already going to go to college or university, but the ones in the middle whose parents might not know how to apply for them to college or might not know how to push them. Our dual enrollment has helped hold their hands as they are admitted into our colleges and universities and as they continue their college education outside of their high school time period. Our graduation rate in high school has jumped from 67.4% to 79.2% today. A high school student in Georgia gets their head start in post-high school career. Many have transferred enough credits to enter college as a sophomore. Others have already received technical and associate credits and degrees to go on and begin in the workforce. This past school year in Georgia, and guys, last week someone said, "Tell me what you're doing with the high schools in Georgia." I said, "Oh boy, you just opened up a question." But this was the simple answer. More than 21,000 Georgia high school students are going to school at our colleges and also in the university system on a daily basis. Think about that. In one state, over 21,000 students, part of their day is to go to college while also in high school. This is a 42% increase from the previous year. Across the state, over 35,000 students enrolled in post-secondary courses while they are still in high school. So we know that this has changed the lives of the many. As I mentioned, too many of our young people were selling themselves short by not going to college or learning a skill, and in many cases because they could not afford it. But now the door has been opened for them to a new world of possibilities. Their high school counselors, their high school administrators, our Our college representatives are in our high schools on a daily basis, holding the hands of those students, those parents, and the counselors to make sure that the high school students are enrolled. And I will tell you, nothing makes me happier than hearing about someone who has become the first person in their family to attend college. Let's step back and think about that. How many of us in this room were either a first-generation college student? Go ahead and raise your hand. Look at us. Think about it. I'm sure you think about it on a daily basis, how it's changed your life and the lives of your children and your grandchildren. Whether we were first-generation college students, whether our parents were first-generation college students, we know the benefit that we receive when an individual goes to college, and that becomes a to-do factor in an individual's life. So when we know that many of these Georgia students are the first-generation students of college members in their family, we know that we have done something right. So I've mentioned we've increased spending $130 million into our colleges to make sure that our students are a part of this dual enrollment initiative. But we've also increased K through 12 spending by more than $2 billion over the last 4 years. $2 billion. So we know that more of our students are ready to go to college. They're also ready to gain employment. And then I want to tell you about one last student. We talk about going into college because really we have two sets of students. We have students that are participating in general education courses, going on into our technical colleges, into our universities, and then we have these incredible students taking courses in technical education. Let me tell you about this young guy. His name is Cooper Goldbeck. He lives in Noonan, Georgia, and he got involved very early with West Georgia Technical College and his high school in dual enrollment and apprenticeships. And when I last met him, I didn't meet him at school, I didn't meet him at college, I met him in the boardroom of Grenzenbach, North America, where he was an apprentice and where he had started in welding. But he said to me, Commissioner Corbin, when I got here, I very quickly became a part of this company. I started with my apprenticeship in welding, but I realized this company is about special projects for manufacturers. So one day, welding might be very important, but the next day, automation, computer systems may be very important. If I was going to be relevant and most important to this company, I needed to diversify my technical skills within this company and through the technical college system of Georgia. Cooper Goldbeck, I believe, is 19 years old now. He brings home a paycheck in addition to continuing in college. He brings home a paycheck. He was telling me that he has purchased a home. He has purchased an automobile. The company has him on their health care rolls. The only problem was that he quite couldn't figure out, or the company quite couldn't figure out how to put them on their 401k rolls. A 19-year-old. He said, it was no problem. I just went to the bank and I signed up for 2 savings programs and I feel like I'm perfectly fine. But then I went home and I told my sister, who was kind of a traditional student, that she needed to figure things out. These are the students that we get to come in contact with when we're talking about dual enrollment. And these are the students, whether you are already very active in dual enrollment in your states or you will continue to be in the future, these are the students whose lives will change because of you. So congratulations on your work. We are proud to be a partner in Georgia. Well, this is what we also know in Georgia. We are very proud of our state government. Can you tell we love our governor? But we also know, and the governor would tell you, we can't do anything without the federal government. We recognize that majority or a lot of our technical college budget is through the federal government, and so we are proud of our federal partners. So you can imagine it is my honor to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Kim Ford, who serves as the Deputy Assistant Secretary in the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education at the U.S. Department of Education. Yes, we think about Perkins every day. So you are the most important. Kim, just take our love for Perkins back, right, everybody? Deputy Assistant Secretary Ford provides leadership, direction, and management on over $2 billion in career and technical education, adult education, correctional, and reentry education and community college initiatives, which collectively serves over 25 million students annually. Deputy Assistant Secretary Ford leads the divisions that administer the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, as we talk about in Georgia, and I'm sure you do, WIOA. How many of us are involved in WIOA? And the state formula and discretionary grant programs under the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act. I can tell you, I could go on and on, but what I will tell you is that Kim Ford fights for us, that she is our liaison in Washington when it comes to career and technical education. We are proud of you, we are thankful for you, and we look forward to hearing from you today. Please join me in welcoming our Deputy Assistant Secretary, Mrs. Kim Ford.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Commissioner Corbin. I always tell people you can just introduce me as Kim R. Ford, native Washingtonian. We actually say y'all up here too, Commissioner. Anybody from D.C.? You know, okay, well, they know we say y'all. And I want to thank the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships and especially ADAMLO for all of your help in facilitating us participating today. So have you guys ever been to a conference this afternoon and somebody from the federal government comes up and just starts yapping and yap and yap and yap and yap? Not going to do it. I've had to sit through that so many times. So let's have some fun. I am so excited to be here because I started in this field as a director of college readiness at the University of District of Columbia Community College. That's where I first started. I heard the little woo-hoo. Come on, Robin, you got to be a little bit louder. This is my successor over here. And when I started there, I started to learn all about this area. Wasn't my background, wasn't my training, but I had done all of these things in my career, and I had achieved my dream. And so I said I wanted to work in the district, in places where I could help people achieve their dreams, and ended up at the community college. And that's my answer to my grandmother, who says, "Who leaves the White House and goes to a junior college?" I said, "Grandma, first of all, they're called community colleges now." But it changed my entire view on everything. And I'm going to start talking about our office, but I started as the director of college readiness and then moved into being the dean of workforce development and lifelong learning. And that's when it was so clear because, see, I'm from here. I mentioned that earlier, and so many people that I grew up with were my students. And so we have to realize, and I know that I'm preaching to the choir, you guys are all in this work, that people have to have an opportunity at all stages at life, no matter what their background is. None of this is in my script, so let me go ahead and turn back. I am so incredibly proud to represent the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education because of the 4 areas that we serve: adult education, career and technical education, correctional and reentry education, and community colleges. To me, those are the 4 most important areas in our country, and I'm so incredibly excited to represent that and the 25 million students. I know it's the afternoon, but yeah, I know I'm biased. I know you're biased. We should be biased together. They really are the best. Now, you know it's the federal government, so we have to have an acronym. So our acronym is OCTAE. We are OCTAE. But we call ourselves the mighty OCTAE because our students are mighty. Our students are the ones who are resilient. You know them. They've gotten knocked down. They get back up. And so those are the students that we are fighting for every single day. Now, one of the things that we talk about so much in OCTAE is that we don't believe that there's one path to success. So many people talk about education and they talk about K-12, traditional path, traditional 4-year, and everything else is like this other thing. So that other thing is like everything that we do in OCTAE, right? And so for far too long, we've had this notion, again, that this golden path is K through 12 into a traditional 4-year degree. And then you're whisked away to college with these rolling green acres, and then life is perfect. But we know that that is not what everyone's desire is. But even when that happens, and we talk about everything else that falls outside of the golden path, you know, somehow that's problematic, or it's lesser than, or it's this other thing. So we always have had to find ourselves fighting our way in, trying to get at the table, trying to prove that what we do is important and valuable too, and we always win that argument because the data supports it, but then we just get to this, oh, well, that's okay too. Like, oh, that, you know, well, we really want you to do this thing. We really want you to do the traditional 4-year thing, but if you learn a trade, I mean, that's okay too. You can still support yourselves. And that's problematic. I give a whole speech on that, and I won't today. But the that's okay too mentality plays out in a number of ways, not the least of which is the way we talk about these other paths and the people who choose to pursue them. And then you can also look at how policy decisions and funding decisions in the that's okay too play out. So why do I say all of this? I say all this because I am incredibly encouraged that the secretary started with 2 important things in my world. One, she started with all paths to success. All paths to success. That's huge. And 2, we didn't have to fight our way to the table. I mean, we were actually at the table from day one. I was sitting there. I didn't even know what to do with myself. I was like, wait, we're a cool kid now? That is so awesome. I mean, I was literally blown away. Robin knows this. You know, the newest community college in the country here in D.C. is a part of a university system. We have to use in air quotes because it's not a real system. But there's 4-year institutions in the law school and the community college, and I was the dean of the CTE programs at the community college. I was never one of the cool kids. I was not. And I've been at the department for a couple of years now, and this is nothing about anybody's administration, but for us to start with all paths to success and for us to have been at the table from day one with significant focus is so incredibly encouraging. It's so encouraging. I think at times I feel like I'm in the twilight zone, but if it benefits our 25 million students and the millions and millions of others who are out there who are trying to access these types of programs, then hey, I am all for it. So people ask me all the time, what are the secretary's areas of interest? Choice, yeah, we know. Okay, not for this conversation. Here are the other things that don't really get a lot of attention, right? One is her true focus on multiple pathways to success. And it's not from this that's okay too perspective, but from a whatever path someone wants to choose, we should make sure they have quality options and are supported in that. I mean, that is so exciting. I mean, at least to me, that's very exciting. So we're focused on removing the or from conversations, which is incredibly important. It's not education or training. It's not a certificate or a degree. It's and. And we talk about this. Secretary and I talk about this all the time. It is and. Once we do education or training, we split things in a way that should not be split. That's also how you end up having funding for education on one side and training on another. That doesn't work for people. People are walking around having issues. They don't have, I have a Department of Education issue today, and tomorrow I'm having a Department of Labor issue. No, they're having issues that we as the federal government need to figure out how to address and solve. So I'm again encouraged when people hear things like government reform, we actually should be taking a look at some of these programs and where they're coming from. And again, encouraged that the secretary believes that all education is education, not if it's a sub-baccalaureate degree, it is somehow job training, not if you're an adult, it is somehow outside of the purview of education. It is lifelong learning. Very excited about that. We support models such as IET, integrated education and training, and stackable credentials. Again, all of this in the same vein so that people don't have to have an or. You can stack certificates and certifications and licensures into degrees should you choose that path. You talked about Cooper. Cooper is a great example of and. He is going to school and working and living and doing everything else. So why, again, in the government do we keep making everything about ors? It's the funny thing about bureaucracies. I know you know them. Another thing that is a huge interest for the secretary is career and technical education. I mean, you hear that from her all the time. I know I hear that from her all the time, but usually if I'm around, it's a conversation about something that's in my purview, so why would we be talking about other things? But you know, in career and technical education is another and, because it's about linking academia and industry. It's about getting the knowledge of the theory and the practicality of how you actually do things. So you are going to see more and more and more emphasis on career and technical education, There's going to be, now I always tell people this, I'm a career executive, I've been there through other administrations, I've been there through this administration, so I don't speak on behalf of the administration, but I can tell you very honestly the things that are happening and things that we believe that you're going to be seeing much more of. So the real focus is going to be on CTE programs, expanding programs in high demand, high wage industries. You're going to see more of a focus from us around work-based learning, multiple types of industry recognized credentials, stackable credentials mentioned earlier, and also earn and learn. So the conversation around apprenticeships is a good one to have. It's really funny, I gotta tell you guys, it just cracks me up. I'm in so many conversations about apprenticeships where no one knows what an apprenticeship is. I mean, seriously, think about that. It's amazing. It's like the word of the day. It's like, hey, Kim, are you speaking at an apprenticeship? And I'm like, we speak at an apprenticeship? No, that's it. But we're going to be talking, the department's going to be talking a lot about earn and learn models. Earn and learn models. Apprenticeships is one of many earn and learn models. Apprenticeships are not going to work in every single industry, in every single sector, in every single region. But you know, when you have all the umbrella of earn and learn models, internships, co-ops, practicums, time on clock, there's a number of different earn and learn models that are out there that we are going to support more. We're really going to be encouraging more of that, because what it does, and you guys know this, it takes away the choice between someone having to go to school or work. See, again, this is the theme. I didn't even write it with a theme, but it's an and theme. We want to make sure that people can do an and, because in those ors, if you choose I have to work, you're going to be in a constant churn at the lower levels. If we get you engaged in an education, and it can be done in different modules and different doses and different types of ways, but if we can hold you longer and move you up to market value credentials, that's what's going to stabilize the economy for folks. That's what's going to make sure that people can take care of themselves and their families. So you're going to hear a lot from us around earn and learn. The other thing that she's hugely supportive of is, as I call them, appropriate accelerators. Appropriate accelerators are things like dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment. Everything that's fast is not good. You guys know that. Fast can be dangerous, but appropriate accelerators, very specifically, again, dual and concurrent enrollment, huge focus of the secretaries. The secretary has been to, I don't know how many community colleges at this point. Every one that she visits, she speaks to dual enrollment students. We were in Valencia College down in Florida several months ago, and I mean, she just loves it. I mean, she just loves dual and concurrent enrollment, and why wouldn't you? It makes all the sense in the world. I mean, again, this is the conference for this, but you know, she knows that, you know, that the three things that are so big for her in this, and for everyone really, is it helps students become more aware of post-secondary options. They can earn credits, which bring down the cost of a degree, which is what we want to do, and it helps students become more college ready. I mean, it's the same thing with earn and learn and work-based learning and everything. Going to college helps you learn more about college. It demystifies college, and it better sets you up to be successful in college. So dual and concurrent enrollment, huge, huge priority for the Secretary. And while ESSA is not in OCTAE's, the mighty OCTAE's wheelhouse, ESSA does allow states to develop new innovative metrics to measure college and career readiness. And many states are choosing to include dual and concurrent enrollment in those metrics. And folks over there say they think that's a big win for dual and concurrent enrollment for the students in the states. And the acting Assistant Secretary, Jason Botel, sends his regards. And again, dual and concurrent enrollment, it's just up there as a top priority. So with these things that we want to see the department moving forward, career and technical education, multiple pathways to success, earn and learn models, dual and concurrent enrollment, so you say, well, how are we going to get that done? Well, hopefully you're going to start to see some things officially coming out by way of the Secretary's priorities. Hopefully you're going to start to see some things, some movement in the FY19 budget. You hopefully will also see some things around, the desire to want to support, use Pell to do more in dual and concurrent enrollment, and to use Pell to further support short-term training programs. So, it's tricky. I said this to Adam when we were talking previously. It's tricky right now because there's a lot of things that are not officially out there. They're not officially out there. But again, what I can say is, this administration is still new. It is still new. They're still onboarding individuals. You may have seen that our office has its first political appointees. My counterpart as a Deputy Assistant Secretary, Dr. Michael Wooten, started last week. He is now the Acting Assistant Secretary. That was one of the 3 hats I'd been wearing since January 20th. He came. I was like, and thank you. I was almost going to send him to this, but I said, well, that's not nice, but you'll have him next year, hopefully. And then the administration has announced that the Assistant Secretary has been formally nominated, Representative Tim Kelly from Michigan. We don't know how long that will take since that is a Senate-confirmed position, but things are still new, things are still bubbling, but again, we're at the table. They are listening to us. The focus of what they want to do and the outcomes they're looking for are key to what we do on the ground here. I still say we. I still believe I'm the Dean, Robin. I still believe that I'm out there with the students. But even though there's a lot of things that aren't formalized or public yet, again, we're at the table. Things are good. I mean, it's better to start as good versus not start as good. And again, we really are positioned very, very well. And so, I'm going to just kind of wrap up there, take questions. I want to thank you guys for what you do every day. I know what it's like. It's not easy, but it's so rewarding. When you see those students, you meet the Coopers, you see that what you do every day really, really does have an impact. It really is changing not just those students' lives, but all of the lives those students are touching. So on behalf of the Department of Education, thank you so very much, and I'm happy to take questions. And if you don't run up to the mic, I'm going to say, up, no questions, all right. The other thing I would say, if you have success stories, and whether or not you want to share them publicly now, we're always looking for success stories. Happy for you to send any information where we can amplify the great work that you're doing, perhaps arrange visits. That's one of the things that we love to do. I'm very easy to find. My email is kim.ford@ed.gov for any success stories that you want to share. I don't see anyone lining up. Get after it.
Not sure I can get the, I got it on. Good afternoon. I'm Kenya Ayers. I'm Vice President and Chair of the Board with an organization called NACEP. We're the Northwest Educational Council for Student Success. We're the partnership organization, partnership organization between William Rainey Harper College outside of Chicago and our 3 sender school districts. I'm also formerly a dean who had adult education, and so just want to say thank you for all the work that you're doing in multiple arenas. I just had a question about something that you referenced earlier. You talked about the Secretary being supportive of appropriate accelerators, i.e. dual and concurrent enrollment. I'm wondering if you could expand on that and talk a little bit, or if you will expand on that and talk about inappropriate accelerators so that we can make sure that we're not moving down the wrong path.
Yes, and candidly, 2 things. One of the other things that's so incredibly encouraging is that the secretary and the team that she's been onboarding have been asking people who are in the field and do the work for advice. I mean, I've been in a number of situations where people show up and they're like, I've had a fantastic idea, we're gonna do this no matter what, even though all the data says that that's not something to do. So I say appropriate accelerators because I believe that it was, in the beginning, everything fast was good, okay? So we had to help correct that. We can't really have coding for all. Coding, boot camps, and things of that nature are good for the students that they're good for. I mean, it is assuming a base level of skill set if you can just turn something in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, something, of that nature. So it's not necessarily that there are inappropriate accelerators. It was more to say that we have to make sure that we understand that fast means different things in different contexts, and there's not going to be some one-size-fits-all that's going to just magically in 6 weeks or a month, change the entire country. So it's not, I think, so that's part of it. And then the other thing that I would say on some of the accelerators too is that they need to end in some sort of market value credential, because there are a lot of things that are out there that you can just, again, show up, and in like 2 weeks, you can run the company. Okay, that would be nice, but maybe not. But if it's 2 weeks, if it's 2 months, if it's 18 months, let's just make sure that at the end of it, you actually have something that means something. Now, here's the thing that, I tell this story a lot. How I'm still standing here just amazes me. But, I had this whole conversation with the secretary about, certificates and the difference in certificates, and that some have market value and some do not. And again, we need to be cautious and careful. So I said to her, why, I don't know, but I was like, well, let me just tell you, Secretary, if you have a DeVos certificate, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So A, that doesn't mean that it actually went up, okay? And B, it doesn't mean that it carries any value. Now, in hindsight, perhaps I should not have told the secretary that a DeVos certificate would not carry market value, and I don't know, it actually probably could. But it all is a part of this long-winded answer of they're listening to us, and what we're trying to do is make sure that people understand the context and the differences, so that when you see the priorities and the funding and the policies that come, it's not going to be some turnkey that's going to fit everything. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your enthusiasm. We welcome it, and we, from a former CTE director, right back at you, lady.
I told you I was going to be fun.
So, thank you. It's a twofold question. One of the things that we're, very concerned about is budget cuts to Perkins and other funding resources that we have. Now that we've got the momentum to be able to do dual credit in the CTE area and other areas, how do we make sure that we have support in the alignment of some of the more important, and all of them are important as you just qualified, but how do we make sure that the funding is going to be there for us to continue the momentum? Is there talk about that? Is there talk of any kind of plan so that we can follow, or can you give us a little bit more insight on that? And thank you again.
Thank you. See, sometimes it's tricky when somebody comes out there like, thanks, really enjoyed your talk, da-da-da, and then they just lay the hammer, and you're like, oh. No, but I appreciate that question. So, first let's address what happened earlier, right? Secretary first day, every day. I love community colleges. I love career and tech ed. Presidential budget comes out and it cuts career and tech ed, and it was a mismatch, let's say. We believe that the mismatch is headed we think that there is certainly support, and we think that we are helping to clarify what happened with that situation. A couple of things happened there too. There's also when the executive branch realized that really comes back through the legislative branch, where you have tremendous support. Now, on the legislative branch, what we had heard for years and years and years was, we won't defund or lower the Perkins levels, but we're not going to increase it. Now we believe may be the time to start expressing to them that they should start to maybe think through that a little, more. Because, now I, again, incredibly biased, believe that we need to be doing more in Perkins. I mean, folks, you mentioned it, Commissioner, people love Perkins. Why do people love Perkins? Perkins is so flexible. I mean, Perkins, unlike really most federal funding streams, is so incredibly flexible. But again, when you're talking about funding streams that allow you to take away the ors and bring the ands together, I mean, that's where you want to see it in Perkins. So I think, again, there's a lot of support. What we get out of OMB is workforce development is good. Okay, then OMB, then let's do something about that. I had a wonderful multi-hour meeting with them last week. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure. It was a humdinger. But we were talking about these types of issues. And I think, again, it's interesting, I joke about this like Twilight Zone. It's the weirdest time for our areas, because this is the time when people actually are like understanding, wow, from a funding perspective, these are the things we should be enhancing. These are the things we should be looking at. But the overall atmosphere is less, right? So I think people are really trying to intentionally and thoughtfully think through how do we address it. And that goes back to, again, the government reform. Why Perkins, as I understand it, was initially thought could be reduced was they believed there were some redundancies that you could pick up some of that funding in other places. And we, again, believe we've helped people understand what that funding source goes to. And even if you're going to try to identify redundancies in the system, there may be other places to point to them. So again, another, winding answer to say, there's incredible support, and I can tell you 100% the Secretary is so incredibly supportive of career and technical education, of really all four of our areas. But if anything were to happen in the budget that was not pro, it would not have been from the department.
We appreciate you whining about things that drive us crazy too, so don't stop that. So I'm from Colorado Springs, which has a huge military presence, which means a lot of our students, I'm a K-12 educator, a lot of our students aspire to military service. But we get a consistent message from federal rulemaking and policy and law that military service is an illegitimate form of adult education. And so I am wondering if there is a way that the mighty OCTAE can advise us or advocate for us for our children who see that as a legitimate pathway, not necessarily as a career, but a way to learn a skill or a trade and then come back into the workforce. Because right now, we're not allowed to say or fund that pathway.
Interesting. And when you say adult ed, I mean, you're talking specifically about AFLA or just
I'm talking about
generally?
all of the we have children of people who serve in the military that say, I want to go and get my,
Right.
they know a specific specialty that
Right.
they want to go, and they want to get it through military service and then come out either on the GI Bill and right now, we can't even count those students as positive matriculation
Gotcha.
under ESSA. That is deeply frustrating in a military community.
Got it. Okay, so I'm going to get your information and make sure that I connect you to Jason Botel, who is leading ESSA. That's absurd, and we'll just have to take a look at what bizarre, strange, weird language thing that's in there that's not allowing that. I'm glad you brought up military families. Our office has expanded our work here in this space. We actually have a Department of the Army Fellow who will start with us and will be working on credentialing I always talk about, one of the places where you can make a ton of money is anyone who can translate like academia and industry. I've been in those conversations where it's like watching a tennis match, but then translating academia, industry, and like military speak is unbelievable. But we're trying to work on that issue, and we're trying to figure out ways to take, military service and have some sort of badging or something where we can really translate it into, market value credentials that industry recognize. So huge area. I appreciate you bringing that up. I'll definitely, again, make sure to get your information and put you in touch with the right folks on that. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for all you do.